All right, a short little video today based on our 2020 plans to build a 300B amplifier, and I am looking for your input. So if you're not interested in this build, this video is not for you. Otherwise, stay tuned. Okay, let's talk about some decisions that have already been made. So these decisions are really not up for debate at this point. We've kind of checked these boxes and are moving on, but stay tuned. There are a few slides here where I do need your input, and it'll be very valuable in helping us make some decisions on how we complete this amplifier build. All right, first up, we're going to use the 300B tube as the output, and we're going to run it in a single-ended triode design. Now, there are many people, that would say a single-ended 300B amplifier is the most musical and amazing thing they've ever heard in their life. Okay, and that's because it is just such a classic, iconic tube, and some of the designs that have built around it have been tweaked and perfected over the years, and it just produces some amazing sound quality. Now, having said that, there's a downside or two to it, and that is that one, you've got to have some fairly efficient speakers. I mean, this is going to be an 8-watt amplifier at the end of the day. So, you might want to start thinking about picking you up a set of efficient speakers, or otherwise this amplifier might not be for you. You can get by with some not so efficient speakers in like a small office or maybe your bedroom. But if you're trying to use this to light up your listening room or living room or something, you're going to need some efficient speakers. All right. I have decided we are going to build a stereo chassis. I know some people wanted a mono block set up, and I spent a lot of hours debating this in the back of my head. There's just a few downsides to the mono block. One, it introduces a lot of cost, okay? You got to have 2 chassis, 2 power transformers, 2 chokes, so on and so forth. So it introduces costs that may push some people away from building it. And second, it doesn't support the longer term goal I've got here with some of these chassis. You'll hear about more here in a minute. And then the other thing would be, there'd be nothing from stopping you from adapting this schematic to build your own pair of mono blocks using your own chassis. So you could do that if you chose to. All right, it's an all point-to-point wired setup. There will be no circuit boards involved in this amplifier. I'm going to use good quality components in the BOM, but I'm not going to use crazy expensive exotic components. You can do that if you want. You can substitute. Okay, I'm going to try to give you 120 volt US build options, and I'm also going to try to provide you power part numbers for European options for the power transformer and whatnot. Okay. Going to use very good quality transformers, still to be determined. Here's what I'm hoping to do, and I'm talking with a few transformer manufacturers right now related to this. I'm hoping that they can have a single part number that I would give you, and you could call them up, and I'll just make this up. Hey, I want to buy the part number Blueglow 2020. And they would say, oh, well, that's going to be X dollars, and here you go, and they would ship it to you, and it would come with your 2 output transformers, your power transformer, and your choke involved in that, all in one little bundle to keep you from having to to order multiple things. So stay tuned. You'll hear more about that later. We'll be building this kit starting sometime after Labor Day through the end of the year. Hint, start saving up some dollars. And this is going to be an amazing sounding amplifier. Tried and tested. I'm going to show you 2 options today. One of them I've already built on the bench and I've been listening to here recently, and it's nothing short of amazing. So let's dive into the options I do need your input on. So here's what I would like to ask of you guys. I want you to reply below in the comments with, and I'm going to give you a couple options here on some upcoming slides, either amplifier build option number 1 or amplifier build option number 2, followed by pick 2 colors out of the ones that I gave you on here for the chassis colors. And then below that, you can then put why you're giving these comments, or why you picked one or the other. And here's a good example of how I'd love to see this laid out. First thing you put is option 2, right? Second thing, the 2 colors you like. And then below that, kind of put your why you like this. I know I'm being a little prescriptive here, but it'll help me in deciphering all of the responses that I get. Okay, option number 1. It is going to be a modified Western Electric 91A design. Such a classic and iconic amplifier. This would use two 310A Pinto driver tubes. There are substitutes for that. There are other companies besides Western Electric that made the 310. And there's also some Russian equivalents called the 10J12S tubes, okay? And we use two 300B tubes as the output tubes. It will be a less complex design. So out of the two options, this is the least complex. It's a classic Western Electric design and sound that's been slightly modified to open up the frequency spectrum. Keep in mind the original Classic 91. If you copy the Western Electric 91 schematic, you just built an amplifier that maxes out somewhere around 8 to 10K on the high end. And that was hi-fi way back in the day when these were being built. When we really want an amp that goes up to, 20K on the high end. Here's one of the downsides to this path, okay? It is the tube rolling options are somewhat limited, okay? A nice pair of Western Electric 310A tubes can run you $250 or more per tube. So you're at $500 in tubes here. Now, if you go the 10J12S, the Russian equivalent, you're at about $35 a tube. And then the 300Bs, those can range anywhere from $60 a tube for a set of PS vanes to $2,000 plus a tube if you get some old original 300B Western Electric tubes. And then the other thing, that a little bit of a con on it, you've got the plate cap to deal with on a 310A. Much like we did in the 807 amp, we have to bring a cap up to the top of the tube. And it's actually not even the plate, it's the grid on the 310A that's up top. But it's just something you got to deal with. It is such a classic, iconic amplifier. The sound from it will be amazing, I promise you. I've always wanted to build one of these, so whether we do it as a group or not, I'm still going to build one of these. But this is option number one. All right, option number two is a classic 300B well-known design. I'm going to stay short of naming this because we're using a slightly modified version of it, which makes it not quite the original. But if you follow the tube complement here, you can easily figure out which amp we're talking about. It uses a 6SN7 as a driver, 1/2 for left channel, 1/2 for right channel. It then uses a pair of 5687 triodes in a totem pole design stack to then drive the 300B output tubes. And the two 5687s in this totem pole design, they give some amazing just depth and just darkness, I would say, to the sound of this 300B. Then you got the output tubes. It is a more complex design. However, it is a super proven design. There are a lot of clones of this amplifier out there today, and a lot of people have built this over the years. So it's not hard to go on the audio forums and find info on it. We will be using a slightly modified design from the original manufacturer's design, and it gives you more tube rolling options. So, 6SN7s are a dime a dozen, and there's a million varieties of them, and you can spend a little bit of money, or you can spend a whole lot of money getting some scarce ones, and it gives you tube rolling options. The 5687, not so much. There's a couple different variations, but most of those run from $20 to $40 a tube. And then there again, the 300B, we've already talked about that. So that's option number two for you. So kind of pick between this 310 Pinto-driven 300B design, which would be option one, versus this 6SN7 driving a 5687, driving 300B as the option two. Forget who originally designed it, but think about it in that context. All right, this being option number two. Okay, I told you we'd talk more about the chassis. I hope this slide gets some of you excited. I know it has me excited. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm currently working with a very kind individual that offered up some of their CAD services to me. We are working on a batch of chassis that I'm going to have made up. And I'm going to kind of have two variations here, okay? So basically we're going to design this chassis for this amplifier. And then I'm going to have a batch made up with all the holes drilled and ready to go. You're basically ready to start mounting components in this and go, okay? The second batch I'm going to have made up is basically the same chassis as the first batch, except for I'm going to leave all the holes on the tops of the amplifier and the front of the amplifier not drilled out. So just a solid chassis. So it becomes somewhat of a universal stereo single-ended amplifier, or push-pull if you wanted, chassis design. The back will already have all the holes drilled for your RCA inputs, your output jacks, your IEC power cord and whatnot, a fuse holder, all that will already be done for you. You would just have to drill holes on the top for transformers, sockets, things of that nature. Both of these will be made with heavy-duty aluminum chassis with bottom plates, rubber feet, and they're going to already be powder-coated and ready to go. Okay, I don't quite yet know a price point on these, what they will end up selling for when I do, but as soon as I figure that, I'll give you guys some kind of pre-build update on where we're at in the progress, and I'll let you know how much the chassis will be so you can start saving up your dollars. We'll see how that turns out. Okay, below that, please indicate your two choices of colors. In other words, if you were going to pick two of these, which two would they be? First one, kind of a silver metallic, in other words, a classic Western Electric look. Up next would be a black glossy, in other words, piano black. Next would be a dark blue metallic, almost midnight blue, you hear it called sometimes. The next one would be a burnt orange metallic, and that's a really pretty color. The next one would be copper hammer tone, in other words, like my 807 build that I did, and if you can't remember, you can go back and check out my video on that. Next would be a dark gray. And then last here would be kind of olive drab green, which would be somewhat of a military green, somewhat of a utilitarian look to this amplifier. So pick the two that you like the best and post those in the comment. Okay, just a quick reminder of the example down here. Tell the option of option 1 or option 2 amplifier. Tell the two colors you like, and then below that put comments if you want. Guys and gals, this will certainly help me out a lot in my next path on this amplifier. So I'm probably gonna leave this up for about 2 weeks, get my results from it, and then kind of move forward on to the next steps. And I'll come back with a video letting you guys know the directions we're taking.